Hey there, Wargamers Star Painter, and today, boom, we're going to talk about some Battletech. I'd like to welcome you guys back to the channel. If you're new here, please alpha strike that like and subscribe button. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for tuning in to continue to help support what I do. That said, today we're not actually talking about the Battletech. I misspoke. Today we're going to be actually working on some Battletech. So in some previous videos, if they went up in the order that they should have went up in, I've been working on trying to get some forward progress in on our Aces forces. So today we're going to be working on dropping some base coats onto our Jade Falcon force from the Aces box set. Now, this is new. I have not done this yet, so we're going to be trying it here on the channel. I think I've selected some colors that are going to work just fine. So to get things started today, let's zoom in a little bit, and we'll show you guys what we are working with today. Be nice if I had a stool, somewhere to place the medals next to me. That would be great. To start things off, I've gone ahead and pre-shaded these. This time I am working with rattle cans instead of an airbrush. For those, we started out with a matte black from the Pro Acrylic spray can line. We came in at a slight angle with our matte gray, and then finally from the top with our matte white. These are the three colors I would have used if I was using an airbrush and I was trying to go for some speed. So you'll see a little bit of gradation going across the model here. In addition to that, you can see some of that gradation on some of the other minis as well. And what we're trying to do is create that that transition, so when we spray our colors later, it gives us some transitions without having to work too hard for it. That said, to get things started today, we are going to be doing some dry brushing. And for that, we will be using this stuff right here and some makeup brushes. So what we're going to be trying to do is apply some of that white via dry brush across the mini in such a way that we can get some edge highlights without having to work too hard for it. That when we come in with some of our speed paints, these colors show through and we don't have to work too hard later. So we can get some kind of cheat some of our details in easy in this step. So let's go ahead and place some of this down. I usually have a little container here. Let's see if I can find something. Usually I've got all my tools ready to go, but I did not today because apparently the thing I've been using as my little dry brush palette got thrown away. So that's it. We'll put us a little splash of that down, save the rest. I bought this years ago on Amazon, and it has lasted quite some time. You can also thin this down and use it as standard white. It's really good stuff, and it's a huge tube of that paint. So let's go ahead and get our paper towel here. Now, normally I'll put that on across my leg. I'll give you guys a look at what I do first. So I'll kind of work this into the dry brush. In this case, a makeup applicator from Wet n Wild. These are cheap on Amazon. There's some other dry brushes out there that work, but I really like these because the price point on them is really, really nice. So now I've got that worked in the bristles. We'll come to the back of our hand, try here first. You can see it looks like too much is coming out. So we're going to come back, work that into our paper towel a little bit better. Try again. Feeling a little bit better about that. So we'll come into our model. We're going to try and come with the direction that we want the light to come from. So down, 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 and not so much up, up, up. So down we go. And this is going to be pretty subtle. We're not going to see as much of this on this model because he's already very white. But what we're trying to do is hit the areas that weren't hit with as much of the white, so we get a little bit of a edge highlight, so to speak, that's cheated on. And if we've got our kind of zenithal gradient done, well, this shows up pretty nicely. This guy's got such a large surface area here that it already comes across as very white. So we'll come in later once we've got our colors down, and we'll do a dry brush afterwards to try and bring it all together. It's much more noticeable on the back here. You can see we're getting that splash, which means we're going to have dark color into a light color pretty easily. But here we're going to have very bright color on the front, which is fine. So we're going to go ahead and do this on the rest of our minis as well. Now this may seem like it's coming across as a little bit of a tutorial. I'm going to be trying to cut some of this and do an actual tutorial with the footage later if I can. We'll see how that works. I struggled with doing that last time and it was not the best, but you know, we're trying, always trying to move forward on the channel and do what I can. So the focus of that one's going to be on that Kraken model. So you'll notice me trying to focus on that one a little bit more with some of the footage. But for these other guys, we're just going to kind of go through. So I may also ramble as we work on them. These highlights here, these dry brushes are really nice. So I'd like to kind of begin some of the ramble portion of today's session and ask how everyone's holiday went. Whatever you were celebrating, how did it go, if you celebrated at all? Have some good time with friends and family. Did you get any good loot, so to speak, in terms of hobby stuff, or maybe some things that you needed? Maybe you didn't need hobby stuff and you got some stuff you needed. Sound off in the comments below. Let us know how your holiday went. And does anyone have New Year's resolutions that they've set? I didn't set any formal ones. My goal this year was to start the new year out asleep, and I did. I slept for 10 to 12 hours. I don't sleep so well, and between relationship work, it's not work, but relationship priorities, you know, and relationships do take work. I don't feel like work, but it takes work, it takes time. You gotta put in your dues, you know, make it work. Between relationship stuff, work, and trying to do stuff for the channel, life's just stressful. I don't sleep well. I wake up thinking about things that I want to do, can do, can't do, hadn't been able to do, and hoping that going into 2026 that I can do better to get things done that I want to get done and not stress so much when I can't. So some of the things that I do here on YouTube, I kind of bounce it off of you guys and let you know how I'm feeling. And the community overwhelmingly is like, hey man, you do you, focus on what you got to do in your life, and we'll be here. And if someone leaves, well, they're not a ride or die, they're not a true fan. And that feels weird. It kind of plays into my feeling of imposter syndrome. We're like, oh, it's a true fan, they're not ride or die. And it's like, oh, who gives a shit about what I do? But I'm constantly reminded by some people that, like, you never know what people are going through in their everyday lives. And this is quoting me here, the everyday lives thing, but like the people mention things to me and it reminds me of things I've said, but you never know what people are going through in their everyday lives. And, you know, by being kind, you may make an impact on them. And I remember that, like, there are people who don't like my channel, and that's okay. The format of it is very much so, hey, we're hanging out, but we're not hanging out because you're not here. It's very informal. It's not as polished as it could be. It's just me. I'm a guy. I get on here. I start filming some shit, and, you know, it goes on the internet. And, you know, some polish may come later if the channel grows. If it doesn't, it is what it is. I don't want to lose the core audience, though, by becoming too polished. You know, people like what they like. People have tuned in for what they like. And I don't want people to feel like, well, Justin's channel isn't what I subscribed to. It's got too big and it's not for me. But the point of this, I kind of digressed there. I moved to a tangent. The point is that, like, you never know what people are going through, and people may tune in to channels for various different reasons, but I feel like a lot of people tune in because I try and keep it real, and maybe they don't get that social interaction that they want in real life. Their friends are few and far between, or there's distance between them, or a little bit of both. And they get on here and they're like, hey, this dude says stuff that resonates with me. I get to throw on a video on his channel, and I feel like I'm in the same room with him, and I get to get some hobby on and feel good, you know. And I feel like we're all very unconnected these days. We're very connected, internet, but we're still disconnected, if that makes any sense, right? We're in an era where we're so connected, we're all still so disconnected. So people, I think, tune in and they get a social interaction here, or a feel of a social interaction that they might lack in everyday life. And I get that too. I tune into a guy a couple times a week he's very small channel, under 300 subscribers, very small, but he responds every time someone comments. He talks to them, real cool guy, and he plays retro video games. Nothing special, just old PS1 games, and he's a real cool dude. But I get that social interaction that I miss by having friends in-person friends that I had when I was younger. And I got more of that interaction when I was hanging out with John more. That's been hard to do. I've tried. I guess getting him to commit sometimes to hang out or have free time has been difficult. But, you know, I do that too. You know, I find things that I enjoy from particular channels, and that's that hits that vibe. And I think that some people that tune into what I do, it's the same thing. There's a particular, you know, longing for maybe nostalgia, you know, that connection with your buddies that you just don't get. And Battletech in particular, being such an old game, people have come and gone, people have passed, depending on how old you are. My demographic doesn't skew super old, but it's middle-aged white dudes. You know, so at that age, you get super busy, and it's really hard to make time for yourself, but also make time to see your buddies, you know. So I think some people, they replace that or fill that void with YouTube. And I think that I might fill that niche to some degree on the channel. It could be better, yes, but I like what I do when I get to do it, when I get motivated. And like I said, last 6 months, or I've mentioned before, last 6 months has been kind of tough mentally to get motivated to do stuff. But, you know, it comes and goes, and I try. And I like broadcasting that positive vibe into the universe, or into the ether, so to speak, because, you know, I know what it's like to struggle, and I know what it's like to not be able to connect with your friends or have them around when you want them. And, you know, of my buddies, I'm one of the few who doesn't have children, so, like, they got things to do, and I get it. I respect that. You're a dad. You got to go take care of business. I get that. But I'm still here, you know, and a lot of times I spend some time alone. So I get that feeling, and I think a lot of people that tune into the channel are that way too. I think a lot of people also tune in because there's no frills, no bullshit. I get on, I say what I think, what I feel like I want to say. Some people like, some people don't. But I think right now, people are wanting that honesty, you know, from the internet, in an era where people just shill for shit, and that's unfortunate. And that's in every facet of life. People just If you get free shit, free things, you know, that buys your opinion, and that don't do it for me. You know, I've struggled. I've talked about it quite a bit, how I lost my status as a CSO artist because of some freaking dice, which subsequently Baron has rectified that problem. But CGL's not going to let me back in anyway. It is what it is. But if I was to have backed down, I would have retained my status as a painter for Battletech, but what would I have lost? And I think I would have lost some integrity. And, you know, CGL could kick rock. It sucks. I like the IP. I may be frustrated about it. I may reminisce about things and feel like I've lost some stuff along the way. But at the end of the day, I've taken sponsorships that I feel are good for me, and I've said the things I need to say. And after my interactions at Nova 2026, the big issue with why I was canned wasn't even just Baron of Dice. That was the excuse. I was told it was because of what I said about the 40th anniversary, whatever dice. It's because that pissed off somebody at CGL. It was somebody's passion project, and they didn't like my opinion. They got mad, and they come after me. It's what I was told by someone who's one of the uppers up there. And I think that's bullshit, but it is what it is. It is what it is. So I keep doing what I do, and I think people resonate with the realness of it, and they know that at any moment I could say something, and, you know, someone might not like it and might get you canceled, so to speak. Now, I don't think I really do anything that bad, but it could happen. Clearly, CGL has done their best to try and, I won't say silence, but not support what I do. So I spoke to another content creator yesterday who had or was it yesterday? Friday, who had a similar experience as well. He was actually fully sponsored by them and no longer over some nonsense. So that's silly. Anyway, so moving on, we're going to be testing the waters with some speed paints from Army Painter. We're going to put some of this down as our shade and this as our kind of highlight area. So we're going to be using our Vortex mixer, get these mixed up. And it doesn't take long. That one looks like it's still got all this the pigment down the bottom, so we'll give that a little bit longer. Still looks like that pigment has not quite separated. These have been sitting a while. They were sitting on their side though, so maybe it's just the paint's got a strong look to it. It's possible. And this one, let's go ahead and get that one mixed up. I think it's probably good. And before we get to this bro, let's go ahead and test it on something else. I think maybe we go with the Mascari. It's got a nice gradient on here. We'll test here first. So let's get our airbrush turned on. Been a little while since we used this bro, so he's a little stiff. We'll run a little bit of water through him. Always nice to grab one of these bros and you have your airbrush not clogged on you. That's super nice. So let's go ahead and grab a few dribbles of that. We won't go with too much because we want to test here. So we're going to try and hit the dark areas first and get all of our minis actually out of the way so we're not overspraying on them. That would have been a mistake. So we'll go ahead and we're going to try and spray at an angle and get all the dark areas first. And we're going to be trying to respect some of the brightest portions of the mini. We're going to leave some, oops, a little bit off the screen there. I'm going to leave some of the dark areas showing, or excuse me, the light areas showing. All right, and then we're going to come in with our shamrock green, and we'll spray from the top, and hopefully we got something that looks pretty good for our Jade Falcons to match somewhere in the vicinity of that box art. Okay, so we're kind of going for coverage there. I'm going to make sure that everything got at least one coat of paint, and I think that looks pretty decent. So we got nice green bros for the box. So let's go ahead and translate that over for the rest of our minis here. And we'll do the dark portion first, and then we'll get to the light spot. And we're going to use our box lid that I've got over here next to me as a way to house the minis so that they don't get gross. So we'll load up on a bunch of that orc skin first, and we'll start spraying some shadows here. Now, as I've mentioned in the video prior to this coming out, I'm not sure the exact order, but trying to work with the community to have these mechs kind of named by community members. So if you haven't seen that video, check that out. And if you're interested in having one of these mechs named after you, chime in. Let me know which one you would want to be and what your call sign would be. So name, call sign, last name. Priority is going to patrons for this first, but then we'll open it up to YouTube if we run out of patrons, which is possible. We don't have a huge number of patrons, so should be some opportunities for YouTube as well. Okay. Let's get this Mad Cat rolling. Probably look pretty solid here, methinks. And we're going to get the aim for that inner leg because it wasn't quite hit. All right, and so when we come in with that brighter color, we still got that white upper side of the minis ready to roll. Got our nice overspray pattern on the bottom of our cutting mat here. That's okay though, not a big deal, not a big deal. So we're also going to be working on at some point the mercenary force to face off against these, and we're going to be working on some cheetahs. So we're working on some cheetahs, which in the cheetah video I mentioned that I was my canon character in universe. He's one of the ones who helped found the cheetah faction, and as a CSO artist, I am the guy who canonized the paint scheme, so it's kind of cool. So it seemed only fitting that for the Ill Clan era mercenaries to fight off against these Ill Clan era Jade Falcons, why not dip into the cheetahs? And they've kind of been largely ignored in the fluff, and Blaine Pardo wrote the short stories, or short story that detailed the founding of the cheetahs, and then with his exodus from Battletech, nothing else was written. Now, I've actually had meetings with Blaine for other business projects because of where I work, and he was telling me that it's unfortunate because he had plenty of like lore, or not lore, but other stories written and ready to go. They're on the shelf. He was just waiting to have the go ahead to submit for publication or whatever. But because of the exodus, there's no more stories for the cheetahs, or at least from him, and that's unfortunate for me from a selfish perspective, because them's my boys, and I wanted to see what they would get. But what do you do? What do you do? He did not share what those stories were, though, unfortunately. I would have probably for the best, I don't know, because I probably would have just cried if he told me what happened, but he said that he had like a whole shelf of stuff, so it is what it is. We got our little vehicle bros here. Nice way to leave the white on that side. Okay. And now for our Kraken, we're going to spray the shadows here first and leave some of that white showing through, because we want that other color to come through and hit the white and be brighter. And we'll be going for basically full coverage on the brighter of these greens, so it can kind of tie everything together. But we'll keep this guy at an angle, spray all the dark areas or shadows first, and leave those other areas for the lighter green. All right. So go ahead and rotate out our paint cup. And we'll load up that shamrock green here and start spraying from the top. And this should be pretty straightforward. We're going to be spraying the bright areas here. If we overlap the other colors, that is perfectly fine. We've got a nice bright green. Very nice. So come through here and we'll try and hit from the top the bright areas that were not hit. All right. Liking that bright green, maybe a smidge brighter than the box art. We'll pull the box art out after we've got the base coats down, and we'll take in comparison. But I think for going for like a tabletop standard, not too shabby for speed. Not too shabby. Slide these guys forward. There we go. I think once we get a good dry brush going on to bring up the highlights one more stage, especially on the spots that were already super white before and didn't get much of a dry brush benefit on that step, that'll really bring these guys together. Boop. Let's go ahead and load up our paint. And it's important to go to try and do thin coats of this because it will try and pool. It's not the end of the world if it does pool. It won't look as good, but like if you're doing this, you're probably going for speed anyway. You want a good quality with speed, but you're sacrificing a little bit of that quality by doing that. So not the end of the world, but if you are trying to get quality out of this, just be cognizant of doing thin layers on your minis so that you don't get pooling, which let's see if we can't be a little bit more cognizant as we're spraying our Mad Cat here. Try to not have this pool up too much. Also trying to aim for coverage, make sure that all the spots that were white got covered, and then kind of go over some of the other stuff just to unify it a smidge. But yeah, liking how bright that guy's looking. We're getting a little bit dry tip here, so some of that pooling we're getting is because I'm having to like really blast the paint out. That's operator error though, but if you're doing like a single minis, it's not such a big deal. It would appear we've got a spot on our hose that's dry rotted. That's cool. So that happened in the middle of filming. Let's see if a piece of tape might not rectify that problem for us. No, no. Our whole hose is torn. That's not good. Whole hose just tore right off. Unfortunate. Well, that means, oh yeah, and look, I just literally just snapped that right off. Not good, not good. I do have a replacement hose. I don't know if it's gonna work for that, unfortunately. Let me see. This is where we are. Things happen. All right, I don't know if that is gonna work. It's a small hose. Let's see, I don't think that's gonna work. It might. Yeah, this actually might. Let's see if I can't. All right, so we've got our spare hose here. Let's see if I can get this off. Actually, I guess it doesn't much matter. In a pinch, we might be okay. What I don't have out here, I don't know if I've got thread tape out here. I might. Let's take a peek. It's been a while since I had to do any of this. No, not in that. Huh. For sure would have thought I would have had some thread tape in this old airbrush thing I have. It might be in the house. Unfortunately, not the end of the world. That's standard tape. Yeah, let's see if we can't get this hose to work. And if it does, we can at least get this video wrapped up and I can, nope, I do have thread tape. Hell yeah. All right, let's see if this will work though. Can't believe we're in the middle of filming and I had a hose literally dry rot on me. All right. Okay, I assume these are the same. They look the same. And I don't know if that is. If that isn't, then I might be in trouble. Let's see here. Oh no, don't even need that converter. All right, so let's thread tape this up real fast. Let's just get that going. Yep. A day in the life of the arm painter. This doesn't happen all that time. It's just something to say. It's a very, very live stream moment, even though this isn't a live stream. Let's go ahead and put that on. Ought to tie right in pretty good. I can't believe it. I found a hole and then like taped it, and then it was like, oh, it's got another leak, and I was like, oh shit, and the whole apparatus tore, and it was dry rotted. Fortunately, this hose looks like it might do the trick for us. Hopefully. Hell yeah. Yeah, this is my old hose, and I think the whole thing is just, oh, that didn't tear, but right in here it was tearing, or maybe on this side. Oh, whatever. Point is, it's old, real old, and one side was dry rotted. So we'll keep that, though, because that's good stuff to have. And let's see if we can get good spray. Hey, it's spraying again. So let's go ahead and finish spraying our model here after our little bit of a break there. Okay. This little bro. I don't hate the green. We'll see how I feel once we grab the box and compare them. They're definitely bright. That is for sure. Very bright. All right. So we only got a couple left to go. Okay. All right, so we're going to come in with that Shamrock Green on our Kraken here. I'm going to try and do some thin coats so that we don't get too much pooling. We'll be trying to cover all the white areas that we didn't cover before, and it's okay if it overlaps with that darker green because it's just going to unify it, and that is okay. All right, so now we're going to clear out our airbrush. Make sure we get that paint out of there, clear the dry tip. And the next thing we want to do is to give these a moment to dry. Some of them are still wet. So the ones that are wet we'll just set off to the side. They're obviously wet. The ones that we did at the beginning should be good to go. But we want to get them hit with a gloss varnish because we're going to be doing an oil wash step on these. And the gloss varnish is going to let us do that much more easily. I'm seeing if I got some extra gloss varnish here because there's not a lot in that bottle. And that's not good. Looks like I might have to make do with what I got and order some after this video. We'll see. We'll see. Hopefully I got enough to get this done. All right. That bro's still wet, so we'll start over here with this guy. So there's a couple reasons why we are sealing this with gloss varnish. So the first one is that we want to do an oil wash step, and you need that to go over a slick surface. The second reason is these 1.0 speed paints from Army Painter will bleed. So we're sealing them so we don't get any bleeding. That is important. And once they dry, we can take a peek and see if there's an area that's not gloss, then we have a pretty good idea that spot didn't get hit with the varnish. So we can go back over that with a gloss varnish and hit that anyway. Whoops. So I mentioned before at the beginning of the video, I was asking about like New Year's resolutions, what you guys want to do in 2026. And if I wasn't clear, I would love for you guys to get in the comments and let me know, both for personal growth and for hobby growth, where do you guys want to see yourselves? What is it you want to focus on and do for yourselves as you go into 2026? Like I had said before, I want to make sure I stay on top of doing stuff for the channel, trying to do more, and then probably working on some mental health stuff, which some of that will involve the channel, because doing more on the channel and being consistent with it will make me feel better about myself and not feel like I'm letting anyone down. It's been a big thing for me, is just feeling like I've got all these people that are supporting me on the internet, and am I doing right by them, you know? So it can be kind of tough. And I imagine some other content creators feel a similar feeling about that as well, where they want to make sure they're doing right by the people that support them and spend money and views and all that stuff. So we'll see if I can maintain or at least improve. We'll see. Almost forgot our Masakari, who was in the box. We've also got the jump jet plume for the Jade Hawk, but we're going to work with that by hand. Put some yellows and stuff on it. And while our little Kraken here is drying, we're going to see how we're feeling about our colors. I could have went with more of a blue or a yellow. I still don't hate it. It's probably not as bright as these is what I would have wanted, but it is what it is. I think the dry brush will probably help. We'll hit it with a kind of paler green dry brush and get that going, and then we'll do all the black accents, which I think will help too. So close enough. Good enough for the channel, methinks, for what we will be doing with it. All right, so we're going to come in with our gloss varnish and seal up our Kraken here. So we're doing this for two reasons. One, we're using speed paints from Army Painter, and the 1.0s will bleed if they get wet again, so we want to seal them for that reason. And two, the next step we're going to be doing on oil wash, and we need the surface to be gloss and shiny and slick for the oil wash to go over. One thing I'd like to note here, there's a spot where the pooling of the paint was a little bit more than what I wanted. Mistakes do happen, but be aware. If you're heavy-handed with the airbrush with the speed paints and it pools, you may get this. So it's better to do thin coats and do multiple passes if needed versus a thick, heavy one like I did a little bit here. So I'm not immune to making mistakes, and it's good for you guys to see sometimes when I do. I wish I could edit that out, but not worth the effort to do that. So let's go ahead and put our gloss coat down. And we are trying to get full coverage here. That oil wash is unforgiving. And if it hits a spot without a gloss varnish, you're not really going to be able to clean it up. It's just going to be the way it is at that point. So one of the things we'll do is spray the surface on this guy. Again, trying to go for full coverage. And we'll come back in a moment once it's dry and look for any spots that don't look wet but don't look glossy. And that lets us know, basically the matte spots, the areas that need to have the coating. One of the benefits of doing this with the airbrush is we can do very thin passes versus trying to do this with a rattle can. So let's give that a moment to dry. All right, guys, we have got our coats of paint down to try and match the box. I think that these are a little bit more green than the box art that we've got here. Not exactly the color. This feels a bit more on the yellow side. This is a bit more on the, maybe not even lime green, but very green. I think once we hit them with a dry brush, we'll be able to get some of that color as the edge highlights, which will probably look good, but sometimes that happens. Trying to grab this stuff and use, like I was using shamrock green and orc skin. The shamrock looks like it would have been pretty darn close, especially on this side here, right, when I was comparing the two. So if we're looking at the bottom left corner, which is the lightest of the square versus that, it looks super duper close, but once applied, it is a touch darker. So what we could have done if we were trying to get this super accurate, probably thin that down just a smidge and do multiple coats and very thin passes. I'm not that worried about it because I think the edge highlights, we will be able to do some work to get us closer to something like that on the brightest of spots. Not that big of a deal. And I think the black accents are really going to pop as well. Once we come in here on these bros and we start blacking out areas and doing the gray edge highlights on those, I think they're going to look really good. That said, I'm going to do a once over on these and see how I feel with the gloss varnish. And if there's spots that are missed, I'm going to go ahead and hit those one more time. That's going to get these guys prepped for the oil wash step, which we will not be doing in today's video. As I had said before at the beginning of the video, I apologize if some of the stuff was jarring. Essentially, I'm trying to get clips of this guy so that I can cut them and make the actual tutorial for how to paint these the way that I did to match that box, or as close as we could to match that box. So some of the things with this would sound a little bit out of place in this actual video we're doing now because I'm wording them knowing I'm going to cut them out. So now that said, we've got our gloss varnishes down. That'll get us prepped for our oil wash step as well as our decal step, and then we can matte varnish then. I'll cover more of that when we do follow-up videos. So that said, hope you guys enjoyed hanging out with me today. Hope you're getting some good hobby progress in. Hope you've got some good plans for the new year. As I mentioned before, sound off in the comments below if you got some plans, if you got some things you're working on. Throw those Instagram links. Let us see what you're working on. That said, though, folks, that's all I got for you guys today. As always, keep painting those models, keep rolling those dice, and I'll catch you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and being here with me today. I pour a lot of time and passion into every video, and I genuinely hope it adds something to your hobby experience. If you've enjoyed today's content and want to see more, consider supporting me over on Patreon. Every little bit of support helps fuel what I'm doing here, and it truly makes a difference. Whether it's a few dollars or simply sharing the channel with others, your support means the world to me and allows me to keep doing what I love and hopefully inspiring you along the way. A huge thank you as well to all my sponsors, Monument Hobbies, Fortress Miniatures and Games, Baron of Dice, and Deathra Designs as well. Their backing is vital to the channel, and if you're in the market for top quality paints, miniatures, dice, or terrain, please check out their links below. Not only will you be picking up some great products, but you'll also be supporting this growing community we share together. Thank you so much for watching and for your time and for being a part of this journey with me. As I sign off today, let's go ahead and highlight some awesome patrons who are helping fuel this journey we're on together and helping keep things going.